The LookAlive Podcast is sponsored by Sonic.
I'm Alex Glaze. This is the LookAlive Podcast. We have a lot of baseball to get to this week. Obviously, the big news, Josh Donaldson taking his 37 home runs and 94 RBI to the Minnesota Twins. A huge loss for the Braves. Now the Braves have two questions to answer. How are they going to fill Donaldson's spot in the lineup? It's a big hole to fill, but I think they answered that earlier this week by signing Marcell Ozuna, and that's a name that Braves fans are very familiar with because Ozuna absolutely killed the Braves in the postseason last year. So Ozuna, I like his bat. I like what he's going to be able to do for the Braves potentially, but it's just a one-year deal. Braves love these one-year deals. I'm not really sure how that's going to work for them in the long term, but we'll see what happens this year. And the second question, what are the Braves going to do at third base? Donaldson, yes, his bat was great, but he was an incredible third baseman, and that's where I think that he had the most value. And I think we're going to find out very quickly if Austin Riley, I think that's going to be the answer there. I think we're going to find out very quickly if Austin can fill in a serviceable role as an everyday third baseman. So I think we're going to find out the answers to those questions very quickly. And then, of course, you have Johan Camargo to kind of rotate in there with Riley if he's not ready. So we'll see. We'll see how this works out. But anyway, our Maria Martin, we're going to switch gears. We're going to get to that Donaldson stuff later. Maria went one-on-one with Donaldson, and we're going to have that coming up. But first, Maria went to catch up with Braves Hall of Famer Tim Hudson, and he's now a pitching coach at Auburn.
Joining me this afternoon is Tim Hudson, a four-time MLB All-Star, former pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, and now back where it all started for him in college at Auburn University as a pitching coach. How exciting is it for you to put back on the Auburn sweatshirt, the Auburn hat, but to a different capacity now as a pitching coach?
It is really exciting. It really is. Obviously when I retired, I came back here to Auburn and, stay-at-home dad for a little while and hauling the kids around. And but obviously, we're huge Auburn people, always have been, loved Auburn baseball. Always wondered if I would have ever had the opportunity to come back and help out in some capacity. And, the way things unfolded, Coach Thompson asked me, if I was, be interested in, coming on board. And the more I thought about it and talked with the family and prayed about it, I was like, man, I just think this is how things are laying out, and I think it's the right move for us at the right time.
When it was the end of your Major League Baseball career, did it ever cross your mind that you wanted to switch over and be a coach?
No, you spend so much time with the uniform and playing in a player capacity. It's once you take that uniform off and you kind of just sit back and relax and kind of decompress some from your career, and you think about it, man. It's at the end of the day, we're baseball people. I'm a baseball guy, and I've dabbled in announcing a little bit and dabbled in some of that stuff, and I just realized, man, you know what? I think I'm a Jersey locker room dugout guy, and I've enjoyed working with kids. I have a son who's a freshman in high school right now, so after I retired, I've coached him and coached a lot of his friends, and just really love teaching kids and trying to help out. I had so many coaches along the way pour into my career and pour into my life, and I just feel like it was something that I wanted to do as well. And I go from my son's age group to obviously coming to this level, which is the best college baseball conference in the country. And this program that Butch has led for the last few years is something that's been something to be proud of. I'm glad that and happy that he's given me the opportunity to join their staff. It's a great staff. They're going to make me better. And now my concern is helping those boys, in this bullpen and on that field, and try to help them get better as a player and as a person, and not only help them in their college career, but try to help them get to the next level.
Everyone on that roster probably knows who you are. Did they ask you any weird questions when you first got here? Have the kids started to dive into that yet?
Well, I've been on the job now for about 10 days, and so I'm still trying to feel my way around here. It's funny, the day before we got here on the 8th or 9th, found myself on my computer at home looking at rosters, names, and pictures, and trying to match them up. You know, so I was like, man, there's a lot of kids on here, a lot of new faces. Obviously, I know the Tanner Burns and the Cody Greenhills of the world, but but then I showed up, and they know me as Tim Hudson, the baseball player, and Tim Hudson, the Auburn, former Auburn player. So that's, for them it was probably like, wow, we got this old guy coming that we're supposed to respect and this and that, and but once I got in here and I've tried to get to know them, I'm trying to let them get to know me and know that I'm not some guy they have to sit up straight, and I'm just trying to be one of the guys and trying to fit in with this program. And for a few days they looked at me like I had three heads, and then I think they realized it's a real person, and he's not scary, and he's not he's a guy, a locker room guy, and I always had a lot of pride as a player when I played to do whatever I could to make things in the locker room good and to try to keep the chemistry light and fun, and I try to bring some of that here. Obviously I'm in a different capacity, a different role here. It's a little more business on my end, and have some things that you really want to focus on and let them know when it's time to have fun and when it's time to be really serious. And I'm excited about it, but they haven't asked me like any really crazy questions now.
They're coming.
Yeah, I've dove into a few locker room stories to kind of get them break the ice a little bit and get them laughing some, but for the most part it's been a little bit of a learning process this week and a half, and I think it's been going really well, and I'm excited about where we can go.
You had a couple of stops in your career for Major League Baseball, but you spent the most time in Atlanta as a Brave. What's the biggest takeaway when you reminisce on your time in Atlanta?
Well, I mean, I grew up a Braves fan. I grew up, watching Tom Glavine and John Smoltz and Greg Maddux, Bobby Cox, Chipper Jones, all these guys. So when I got traded there in 2005, I was like, man, I can't even believe that I'm having a chance to play for my team in the prime of my career for Bobby Cox. Teammates with John Smoltz at the time. I was like, man, you talking about kind of, feeling a little nerve. I probably looked at them like they had three heads for a while, just because you kind of in awe of some. But you know what? It was 9 amazing years. A lot of ups and downs. We had, obviously some injuries along the way, and a lot of success as a team. A couple of seasons where it wasn't so much fun, but just having a chance to play for Bobby Cox and learning from the best, and Leo Mazzoni and Roger McDowell coming in, for the last 8 years that I was there. I learned a lot as a pitcher. I learned a lot as a teammate being with Smoltzy, and Chipper was unbelievable to be. Best switch hitting third baseman all the time. Not many folks can say that they played for arguably the best third baseman and the best manager to ever probably put on a uniform. So I can say that, and it was some fun times. It really was. I always consider myself a Brave, even though I didn't end my career there. I had a chance to go out west and win the World Series, but heart's always in Atlanta. I always feel like I'm that. I'm one of them, and always will be.
You talked about the World Series. Were you waiting to win one to end your career? Was that just something you wanted to check off?
Well, obviously everybody wants to try to win one. It's a that's an elusive thing for a lot of people. It's funny, so there's a lot of guys who play their whole career and never even have a chance to play in a World Series.
But after that, you were like, I think I'm good.
Yeah. In fact, in 2014, after we won the World Series, I was an old guy. I was 39 years old, and just won a World Series. And I remember we flew from Kansas City, was flying back to San Francisco, and I'm, sitting there on the plane, and we're having a good time and celebrating. And I remember in my mind, I retired like 7 times on that flight going back and unretired. And I remember talking to my wife. I was like, I think I'm gonna retire. I can go out on top. She's like,
putting her through it.
Probably a little too much champagne, but whatever. But it was. But you know what? It was. I'm glad that I did have a chance to play. Play in 15 and have one more last year to spend with the guys. And obviously, it wasn't a great year for us as a team, but for me as a player, it was. It was probably one of the more satisfying years that I had, because I had a chance to kind of just take it all in and enjoy myself and my teammates that won last year.
You might have to think about this one for a second, but was there ever a hitter that every time they came to the plate, you're like, dang it, I don't want to face him today?
do I only have to name one?
You can name a few. Tell me who they are.
But you know what? I mean, it depends on where I was playing. Early in my career,
Okay, give me some.
Early in my career when I was in Oklahoma, Carlos Delgado was a guy who just, he was such a good hitter.
Right.
Tore me up. Jim Tomey was a guy who haunted me most of my career. I mean, he for whatever his strength was my strength, but his strength was always a little better than mine. He had that low down and in, swing, and he was a guy, and one of the nicest guys in baseball. That was the thing. Like
just not when he walked.
He tore me up. He tore me up, and then next day I'd see him in the weight room or something. He'd be like, "This is the nicest guy ever," and I'm like, "Man,
dang it!
I want to hate him, but you can't."
Yeah.
But it's just there were some guys. Ryan Howard was a guy who gave me a little bit of trouble. A lot of guys in your division. Obviously, you play a lot of guys, against the Nationals, and you play a lot of guys against the Phillies. When I was in Atlanta, a lot of at bats, against Chase Utley. I mean, there's times where, you have their number, and then there's times when they have your number.
Right.
But later on in my career, when I wasn't quite in my prime, it was pretty challenging for a bunch of them. And it's not fun when you're an old guy and you look over in the dugout and you see September call-ups fighting to get to the bat rack to hit off of you. It's like, oh man, you know what? If you'd only caught me 8 years earlier,
Did you ever tell them that?
I'd have worn you out. No, but I wanted to. In my mind, yeah. In their mind, I was just the old guy they were trying to get 2 or 3 hits off of. But what can you do?
You still had a lot of success, though, over 2,000 strikeouts and more wins than losses in your career. So, a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
But also, you had a nasty sinker, something that you learned here at Auburn. Have you been showing the guys a little bit about that magical sinker?
Well, there's a couple of guys who have some pretty good run on their ball here, and there's been some things that we're messing around with different grips and showing the boys some, a few little tricks of the trade that I can't really share on camera. They're my secrets, but.
But they'll whip them out, though.
Yeah, I hope so. It's been exciting to try to, the last thing I want to do is come here and try to change a lot of things with what these boys are doing, because they're really good. I've been handed a pretty good hand right here with these boys. But there's some things along the way that that I think could maybe help them out, and a few guys. I'm working with some different grips, and I'm excited about what I've seen up to now.
One thing we got to talk about is what's happened with the Astros. It's obviously the news everywhere right now. You're a pitcher. This is something really egregious for baseball. What was your initial opinion when you found out what was going on?
Well, obviously, for a lot of years, let's be honest. Pitchers, we're paranoid people when it comes to that kind of stuff. Always have been. I know 15 years ago, I remember sitting, in our dugout, seeing our guys making pitches, and I'm looking around the stadium like, man, it'd be easy to do something weird like that, or somebody in the bullpen do something weird. But, technology just wasn't advanced enough, from a television standpoint for things to be on time like that. And, obviously, it's something that's really tough. There's one thing when you're out there on the field and you may steal somebody's signs, and, you try to do some things to maybe help your teammates out, base runners or what have you. And, as an opponent of that, you try to see what's going on. And if you see that happening, you're like, hey, man, knock it off, or, things might get a little weird next time you come up to bat. You know what I mean? So you have those kinds of things where players back, 15 years ago, you could kind of police themselves. And, then it gets to the point to where, pitching inside was hard off the plate is got to be frowned upon, and so pitchers were a little hesitant to really pitch inside like they used to. And it's just one of those things where once there's that, you take away that that fear of, man, I just we should have things under control, get a handle on things. You take that out of the way, and then all of a sudden it progresses to where it had gotten. And hitters are always wanting to try to get an advantage on pitchers, and we are the same way with them. And, but there comes a time when things cross the line, when you start, dealing with technology like that and whatever, obviously I'm not sure exactly what all
potential buzzers
has been proven that they've done. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know what's, allegedly what happened. It's one thing, but let's be honest. Every team and every hitter wants to try to push that envelope a little bit to try to get an advantage.
But did they push it too far in your opinion?
Anytime you use something like that where somebody's giving you a signal, either verbally or buzzing or whatever, in real time before the pitch is coming, that's definitely crossing the line. If you have a guy who's in the game and on the field, and he may try to give you a location or something that he thinks has it figured out. But the thing is they think they may have it figured out, but they don't know for sure, right? But if you have somebody whose job is to break down all the signs underneath through video and trying to, really hone in on it and then do something to the hitter that's somebody that's not even on the field, that's definitely crossing the line. But at the end of the day, I know there's a lot of, we used to watch the third base coach give signs and try to see what signs are given, those kinds of things are part of the game, but you're on the field doing it. It's a different when, you start dealing with technology and, buzzers and whistles and, fans in the stands holding up signs when the sliders come in or whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's, it's a little strange. But like I said, us pitchers, we're always paranoid. We always have been. We always will be. Because we're never supposed to give up hits.
No. Ever.
If they hit it, they know. Somebody told them.
Yep.
It's not because
exactly.
It's not because I threw it right down the middle.
Someone told me.
Right down Broadway, man. How dare him hit that pitch?
What was your pregame routine when you were playing?
You know what? I never had anything crazy, and obviously
You never had any superstitious weird things going on?
You know what? I don't know if you call them superstitions. You have routines that you stick to.
Yeah.
If my routine kind of got out of whack, I wouldn't freak out.
Okay.
So I guess I guess it wouldn't be a superstition, but the day you pitch, you have your stretching routine, your diet, you're making sure you're staying hydrated and taking your vitamins and eating the right foods the night before, and you're just making sure that you check all those boxes in between starts that you check to be ready to go. I don't have weird underwear that I wear or socks that I've worn for 10 years. It's some people do. Some people do. They're weird, man. Some guys are weird in this game. Baseball players are strange once in a while.
All right, last thing I want to talk about is your foundation, because it's something that you and your wife started in Atlanta. Tell me a little bit about what it is, and you just celebrated an anniversary with it. Yeah, we started our foundation in 2008, started getting the ball rolling off the ground, so we're a little over 10 years old. And, we're two statewide. We're Georgia and Alabama. Obviously, we started when we was in Atlanta and did a lot of work with a lot of folks in Georgia. And then when we moved here to Auburn in 2010, we expanded into this area. It's just a foundation. It's a children's-based foundation. We just try to help out families and kids who are dealing with some kind of hardship, whether it be medical or, an accident or just, a lot of different areas. We've come across a lot of kids throughout the years, who are dealing with some tough things, who financially had a hard time dealing with it, and it was just a way for us to be able to step in and, help out right away. There's not a lot of red tape to cut through and hoops to jump through. We're pretty grassroots, and if there's a problem and if there's somewhere where we can help, it's usually pretty immediate that we can come in and help out. And been doing. We've been doing a lot of things, from the smallest things of gas cards and Publix and Kroger cards to helping out with some serious medical bills. So it's. I'm just so happy and thankful that, I've been blessed with the platform to be able to do some stuff like that, and have a great wife to help spearhead that and to keep that going. And it's a lot. It's very rewarding. We call it selfish giving. We help out a lot of people, but for us, we get as much out of it as anybody because we just feel good about it. And you met your wife here, so life kind of comes full circle for you.
Yeah, she was actually my tutor when I was here.
She was your tutor?
Yeah, so all kids out there, make sure you
marry your tutor, I guess.
Well, I'm just saying, make sure you go see your tutor and do your work, man. You never know what can happen.
She negotiated your contracts too, didn't she, when you were playing baseball?
She made sure my agent done a good job doing it.
Okay. Still, she did a good job, evidently.
Absolutely.
All right, Tim,
She's
thank
way
you so
smarter
much.
than me.
Thank you so much, and good luck. This place is amazing. You already know. You're going to do great things here.
Well, thank you. I'm excited, and if there's anybody out there with some kids who are 95 and rocket arm and a devastating slider, send them to me.
All right, thank you. Good luck, Tim.
Thanks.
Great stuff from Maria and Tim. Now let's get to that Josh Donaldson interview where Donaldson reveals just how tough of a decision it was for him to decide to move on from the Braves.
Joining me from sunny Lake Buena Vista, Florida today is three-time MLB All-Star, the 2019 National League Comeback Player of the Year, and brand new Minnesota Twins third baseman Josh Donaldson. First of all, you participated in the Celebrity Pro-Am this week, and we know you're an avid golfer, so how was it out there today?
It was windy. I didn't play particularly well, but my pro who's in the LPGA, she had a hole-in-one today, so that was actually pretty phenomenal.
Wow.
We went pretty crazy for that.
So I heard that you had a pretty famous swing when you were little. Is that true?
I used to hit the ball pretty well from a very young age, and golf is definitely it was the first sport I started playing when I was a young kid, and I enjoy the time that I get to spend now.
All right, Josh, just a few days ago, you signed that monster 4-year deal with the Twins. What was the last few months been like for you when you were in negotiations and in free agency?
It was definitely a roller coaster of emotions. I felt there was a lot of times where I thought stuff was going to kind of get close and didn't pan out to where we were at. And then ultimately the Twins came through, and we felt like it was the best situation for me to go into, and I'm excited about being a part of the Minnesota Twins.
I know it's always exciting to join a new team. You've done this a time or two already, but was there a certain level of disappointment that you wouldn't be returning to Atlanta?
I felt like it was going to be a possibility. I mean, anytime you go into free agency, you never know how it's going to play out. There was definitely some excitement that I had, and to be able to fulfill a childhood dream of mine, playing for the Atlanta Braves. I was very grateful to be able to do that for one season, and ultimately it didn't really work out, and at the end, but now I'm, like I said, I'm excited about joining the Minnesota Twins organization.
You said it was a childhood dream. I know you grew up a Braves fan. What was your biggest takeaway from a phenomenal year that you had in Atlanta?
I think it was just exciting for me to be there, of all the young talent that they have there. A lot of the guys that I got to watch play day in and day out, to be a part of that, to develop relationships was special. And it was, like I said, to be able to finish, to play with Brian McCann in his last season, to play with Freddie Freeman, to be a part of that coaching staff, to reunite back with Alex and the training staff that I had in Toronto. It was definitely special for me, and it's a situation and a time that I won't forget.
All right, Josh, of course we got to talk about the news that has rocked the baseball world the last few days. There's been firings of multiple people amid the sign-stealing investigation of the Houston Astros. I know you said you didn't know much about what was going on and what, of course, it is in depth, but when you first started hearing about everything that was being investigated, what was your initial opinion?
Well, my initial opinion was I felt that Major League Baseball had already kind of nipped that in the bud from the prior season last year, where they implemented rules and kind of regulations to what was going on last season. So I thought it was taken care of. Unfortunately, we're at this time right now where, for me, like, I haven't got that detailed into it. It's unfortunate for a lot of organizations and that had either played against these teams and to be a part of these organizations that have, it's hard for me to speak about it because I don't really know the details, but obviously there was some wrongdoings there, and it's definitely not a good thing for baseball, and hopefully they can divvy out the penalties and get it all taken care of so we can go out there and play baseball.
Yeah, we're talking about something that's happened in baseball for ages, stealing signs, but when you throw in the use of technology, do you think that further affects the integrity of the game?
I definitely think it's crossing the line. As I said, the sign stealing and stuff, as you said earlier, it's been a part of the Major League Baseball probably since it started. But I think there's a way that people deem as ethical, and there's a way that people deem as, pushing the line. And if you're using technology, to me, it seems like that's probably unfair.
All right, spring training coming up in about a month. What's your next month look like before you return to Florida and you get started with the Twins? I'm going to continue my training program. I have to go up to Minnesota here this coming up week, and just really preparing for the season mentally and physically. You talk about preparing mentally and physically. You're a young 34 years old. Where do you feel like you are in your career right now?
I still feel like I have a lot to offer. I feel like last year it was a nice bounce back for how I started the season. Started off a little bit slow, was able to finish strong the last 4 months of the year. But I definitely feel like I have more in the tank from that season. I felt coming out of the year that, I had a pretty good year for my standards. So I feel like there's definitely room for improvement. But at the same time, there's definitely were some positive that came out of last year as well.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. The bringer of rain. We're excited to bring some purple rain to Minnesota now. Good luck this season.
All right, have Maria Martin and Grant McAuley here now. Maria, you just talked to Josh. Did you get the feel that he was okay with the decision to move on from the Braves and to end up with the Twins?
I think he's probably a little bit conflicted. I know that he has a deep love for the Braves. He really enjoyed his time here. He talked about being a part of a team that was young, and he liked being around them. He liked the vibe. This is a guy that's from Alabama that grew up watching the team and was able to put that uniform on. That's really special. But at the same time, I think money talks for a lot of guys, specifically Donaldson. So
me too.
He was right. If I was going to go for that kind of money, it would be great for me. And I think he's happy with that. I think he's maybe at peace. But a small part of him, I think, really wishes that he could have been able to make it work in Atlanta.
And Grant, when you hear Josh talking about how the Braves came in late and then didn't offer, the offer that they put out wasn't in the same realm as the Twins, does that surprise you at all, knowing kind of how this was all kind of working out?
Yeah, the way that I looked at it was, it seemed like he was waiting for somebody to make their last best offer. And whether or not that was going to happen in Atlanta or one of the other cities rumored to be in pursuit of him, I think he was really, at this stage in his career, age 34 season.
Looking for years.
Yeah, you're not going to have the opportunity, not just years, but the money, because with the years, obviously, comes the money. So I think the team that got to $100 million, I would guess, is the Minnesota Twins in terms of full guaranteed money, none of the deferred money like the Washington Nationals do, just a lot more of a straightforward offer. But I think it took them a while to get there because they didn't get their ace starting pitcher. How can you impact your team in other ways? You can do it in the middle of the lineup. So that's what the Twins did, but it leaves the Braves with a very big hole. And I'm not sure that the Braves ever got to the point where they were, here's 4 guaranteed years for $100+ million. If they did, I think you'd be wearing a Braves uniform.
All right, I'm going to throw this out there before I close this out for you guys. What do the Braves do now? Because they need a cleanup hitter. Do you think that guy's already on the roster that gets somebody? What do you think they do?
I mean, I think they got to make a trade. And there's a couple of guys out there you could look at. I know Nolan Arenado's a really sexy name, obviously great player, great defender. Chris Bryant, former MVP. He might be out there as well, but I think it's a trade.
I agree, and we were talking about this before. I think that the Braves, it's time for them to make a statement. And the way that you do that is by getting someone to come in, a big name, potentially someone that's going to cost you a lot of money, a Chris Bryant and Nolan Arenado. You got to put someone on there that makes a big splash and makes Braves fans excited and let them know that you're serious about winning a title.
All right, Grant, I know it's going to cost the money, but do you see they're going to also probably have to part ways with some prospects? Yeah. That's been a problem in the past couple of years. Do you see that happening this offseason?
I think it's getting there. I really do. And you're at that point where you can send a clear message, not just to the fan base, but also to that team. If we're a piece away, we're going to get that piece.
All right. You heard it from Grant McAuley and Maria Martin. Thanks for joining us, guys. That is the LookAlive Podcast. As always, you can download, subscribe, do all that stuff. And, shoot me a message on Twitter or social media, whatever. Let us know who you want to hear from. We're always talking to the biggest sports figures in Atlanta sports. We'll be back next week.
The LookAlive Podcast is sponsored by Sonic.